Welcome everyone to another RDB Reviews video with Ryan Bulkwell, author of rdbreviews.wordpress.com. Last week, Ryan and I finished our interview speaking about The Gentleman, latest Guy Ritchie release, and Ryan was only halfway through watching it at that point, but he's now finished watching it and he's uploaded it to his WordPress blog. 20th of May, Ryan has uploaded The Gentleman.
Yes.
We're going to ask Ryan his opinions on this film now that he's finished watching it. So, Ryan, was it good? Was it worth your time?
Yeah, definitely worth my time.
Is it laugh out loud funny?
My only criticism about it, the comedy fell flat to me. Yeah,
That's a shame because it's got a great cast.
which it
I
does.
like the idea of Matthew McConaughey having to deal with English people. That sounds quite fun.
Yeah, Charlie Hunnam and Colin Farrell.
An all-star cast, but it felt flat, the comedy to you. Was it more like a drama in that sense? I mean, I assume the whole plot was set up for comedy reasons.
Oh yeah.
Was it dramatic at all with the whole drug dealing?
Well, a little bit drama-y, yeah.
If you're a Guy Ritchie fan, you probably will enjoy it, yeah?
Yeah, or the actual genre of gangsters in movies.
Do you have anything you'd like to discuss in depth today?
Running down all the saga of Star Wars.
Yes, you mentioned this last week. So Ryan and I were discussing the correct order in how to watch Star Wars.
Yeah.
And you're beginning with the prequels. Then we have the Disney releases that are not specific to the Star Wars chapters, like a Solo movie and Rogue One. Then we have things like The Mandalorian as well. Are you including The Mandalorian in that, Ryan? Or you've watched that recently?
Yeah, include The Mandalorian. Yeah, I'm going to include season 1 into that. But I'm just going to wait till season 2 comes. Directly connected to the last season.
To The Mandalorian, without spoiling it, is quite intriguing. And it makes you wonder how it connects to the rest of the Star Wars universe. And if it doesn't connect at all, that's fair enough. But if there is some connection, that would be really interesting to see in season 2, how Jon Favreau gets his story wound into the greater story of Star Wars.
Yeah. The first one I did was the Phantom Menace.
Phantom Menace, he come under a lot of flack for not living up to fans' expectations. And I think a lot of people want to forgive it because they love Star Wars so much. So watching it, here we are 21 years after its release. I believe it was 1999 when it came out. For my part, man, I feel like defending the CGI. I know it was all shiny and silly to look at the time, but if you want to pretend like the Phantom Menace CGI and effects is quite fairy tale like, then, I've seen worse CGI more recently than I did in that film.
Ah, that's fine, because this is my first time viewing of it.
Really? Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you'd watched it before and you were revisiting. So you've gone into it cold. That's interesting.
Yeah. So I will displace this as in Jar Jar Binks.
I was going to mention him, but go on. Tell me all about Jar Jar Binks, Ryan.
He was not that bad, really.
Okay.
Yeah. Back to those people that complain about it. It's Jar Jar Binks. It's so horrible.
Unfortunately, Ryan, there is a kind of a trope in Hollywood that goes back some time that's a racist casting of black actors and the kind of behavior they're supposed to exhibit in movies. I think, unfortunately, Jar Jar Binks reminds people a lot of old tropes in cinema, that a character is silly and goofy and plays for laughs, but obviously he's an alien. But for a lot of people, it made them think of racist Hollywood tropes. So that kind of spoilt the enjoyment of Jar Jar Binks for adults, especially Star Wars fans who were adults. But George Lucas defended it by saying his films are made for kids. He didn't make Phantom Menace for the adults that were a fan of his first films. He's making movies for kids now. So if you enjoyed Jar Jar Binks, that's fine.
That's fine, because I'm going to defend him here.
Did you think any of the other characters were that interesting in Phantom Menace?
Well, first of all, Darth Maul was definitely threatening.
Yeah, he's scary looking, yeah.
Yeah. I feel like that's the best part about him, which is a threatening threat to the good guys.
Yeah, as a Sith Lord, he needs to be as bad as he can be because he's effectively the only really dark character in that film. Everyone else is kind of a bit silly. Even the Emperor doesn't make much of an appearance in the first film. So it's all down to Darth Maul to represent the Sith Lord and the dark sides. But I think he does a good job of suggesting that he's not a very nice guy.
Yeah, and definitely in the last fight scene with Obi-Wan and
Qui-Gon Jinn, played by Liam.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Fight scene is quite good. The prequels led on to the Clone Wars, which I'm a bit of a fan of. I've seen a few episodes. So without the prequels, you wouldn't have the Clone Wars. And the Clone Wars has wonderful characters. It has really good lightsaber fights. The lightsaber fights we got in the original movies were great, but it's really cool to see lots of lightsabers all doing their thing.
And also, it's like better handled in like the prequel. You don't have to talk about like too many politics going around.
This is a funny thing about the introduction, Ryan, to Phantom Menace, the scrolling text. I remember this from the cinema. You know, it starts off episode 1 and you're very excited. Then it starts talking about trade deficits and taxation and the Trade Federation. And you start to think, I'm a bit confused. I think George Lucas was trying to be political. He's suggesting that the George W. Bush administration were like the dark side at the time.
My criticism was with as well. Too much politics and less action. You can tell by the end of the Phantom Menace, it's actually like going somewhere. You can sense it, like it's going somewhere.
You know that it's setting you up for the original trilogy. Yeah, so you always know where it's going, and it's a question of how to get there. I think audiences, the expectation was so great for how Darth Vader becomes Darth Vader, which is the whole point of the prequels, that, you know, people would never be pleased. They would never get what they wanted out of it. It's good that you're watching it now, and you're not watching it in the early 2000s.
Yeah, and my final complaint is, other than the action, which is trying to be well done, classy little Anakin enjoying the ride.
The pod racing, Ryan, that was really good, wasn't it?
Yeah. But I think two more things. It is the way that the film been shot and Jake Lloyd, little Anakin. I thought it was blah.
Okay. There's a lot of pressure to put on such a young boy. He's had quite a troubled time in his life ever since filming that because, again, fans have been attacking the film ever since it came out.
It was up to me, and someone will ask me, who's the poster boy for Hollywood ruining young child actors' life? I would say Jake Lloyd is right on top.
Attack of the Clones, Ryan. Should we move on to the second one?
Oh yeah, the last one is getting crazy.
Have you seen Attack of the Clones, Ryan?
Yes, yesterday I did.
Oh, fantastic. Yesterday you watched it. Okay, so we can talk about it. Okay.
But that's why I had to stop halfway through to the end because the internet getting lost. Because the internet's getting bummed up. Let's talk about Attack of the Clones.
Favorite character is Jango Fett. I love the fight between him and Obi-Wan Kenobi. I think it's a great... If you're watching Mandalorian now, that little fight scene they have shows how the Jedi and the Mandalorians would fight, where the Jedi can use the Force, but the Mandalorians can use all their technology.
Oh yeah, definitely the one when all the Jedis and the drones are fighting in that arena.
That was great. All the lightsabers beaming up, yeah.
And when I was watching it, a lot of this stuff, it came straight out of the Lego Star Wars 3, the Clone Wars video game, which I played.
I was just thinking, Ryan, obviously the Attack of the Clones came out first, and then everything else was based on that. So you've seen it in reverse order. You've seen video games and Clone Wars, the animated series, before you've watched the movie that kind of set it all off.
Yeah, which is what we'll get to some point. But first, I'm watching the full series of Clone Wars. Actually, right now,
Clone Wars, but I've seen a few episodes.
7.
Wow, so it was quite a long-lived thing. That's great.
Yeah.
There's a point about General Grievous. Have you come across this character yet in the Clone Wars?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, he's like the white robot with the claws. In Revenge of the Sith, he has this chest cough. He goes, and there was
Yeah.
a joke made that he's a robot. So why would he have a cough? Well, he's not a robot. He's a cyborg. And there's a fight scene between him and is it Mace Windu, where
Probably that guy's on cough mission. So
well, I mean, I thought it was quite funny. I like the idea of a coughing robot, but there was a lot of criticism about it because people were looking to poke holes. But there is actually a fight scene in the Clone Wars that's literally just before the beginning of Revenge of the Sith. There's an episode of the Clone Wars that sets up the opening fight scene in Revenge of the Sith. And there's a bit where a Jedi uses the Force against General Grievous and kind of damages his heart. And that's why he then has a cough. So I thought that was quite clever that George Lucas was connecting things happening in his movie with the cartoon series.
yeah, I will.
So yeah, it helps to watch the whole thing.
That's brilliant. Noah, thank you. I probably will.
There was a thing about Attack of the Clones. It was done digitally, completely done on digital and not with celluloid. Obviously, I think if you look at the quality of the film now, it doesn't quite hold up to modern digital because it was 2002 when that film came out. But it was, you mentioned Trolls World Tour being a trendsetter for being the first ever release. So I just want to mention Attack of the Clones was a trendsetter for being the very first film to be shot completely on digital. And obviously that's how cinema is done now.
I know. That's great. My criticism with that is this live action Anakin Skywalker is like the most bland, generic, and creepy antagonist ever.
Protagonist, I suppose. In Attack of the Clones, he's the good guy, isn't he? Anakin Skywalker. You're right. He is bland. Hayden Christensen. He didn't really win over audiences. And again, a bit like young Anakin in the Phantom Menace, there's a lot of pressure to put on one actor to represent this character that is Darth Vader. So I've never connected the two. I can't connect James L. Jones as Darth Vader with this guy Christensen. It just doesn't, he's not Darth Vader to me, you know.
Well, probably that's going to be a problem for a lot of other movie or television studios today, actually.
How so?
Because, like, offering the Batman character has a Sam, what I'm getting to. Adam West, Michael Keaton, Val Kilmer, George Clooney, Christian Bale, Ben Affleck. You thinking of those caliber actors? Who else would be to shoot those shoes? Like a superhero, like Superman. No one wants to take that mantle and carry on the legacy of that role.
Very good point. Yeah, it's big shoes to fill. And I think the fans, they do love to complain.
Of course they do. They don't sharp about it.
Exactly. So yeah, it's not possible to please everyone.
And if I was to let people like that, I'd just say, well, it's your fantasy, goodbye. Because we're going to make it this way, like it or not.
That's the thing. It belongs to him, or it used to. He's now sold it to Disney, but he could make the film he wants to. It's a documentary. It's called The People versus George Lucas, and it came out in 2010. And it's basically like a hit job on George Lucas and the Star Wars franchise. It talks about how wonderful Star Wars began, and then it shows the fan frustration with Phantom Menace. George Lucas enjoyed winding up the fans. He would tell the cast and crew, I want more Jar Jar, because the fans hate him, because he was reacting to the fans. The script isn't very great and perhaps could have done with running it by some other script writers just to make it a bit better. Like the Anakin Skywalker character has some really terrible lines.
Yeah, but now you say a lot of the lines in that film, my mind is processing of what he said in the film.
It's not quotable, is it? It's good fight scenes though. Again, I think CGI, all the space battles are brilliant. I love them.
Oh yeah, definitely. Definitely agree with you there. And I will say this, Natalie Portman. I think she's like my, I'm going to say second favourite female character next to Leia. Not even close. So yeah, I thought this one was a bit underwhelming. to be honest.
Films that are groundbreaking, like Clone Wars with the digital filming and the special effect, they sometimes don't age very well because you're looking at lots of modern stuff that's actually been influenced by the films you're watching now, and you're comparing potentially Attack of the Clones with what you're watching in the year 2020. And so some of the CGI, some of the special effects will not have aged brilliantly. I love the sound effects when Obi-Wan is chasing Jango Fett through the asteroid belt, and when those mines go off, the sound is fantastic.
Oh yeah, and definitely with that Yoda versus Count Dooku fight. I wanted more of that.
I love that Yoda doesn't move much in Empire Strikes Back, and then suddenly he's doing backflips and he's jumping off walls, and I didn't like that at all. Because that's not, Yoda isn't about acrobatics. He's all about cerebral. You know, he says, judge me by my size, do you? It's not about how big he is or how athletic. It's about his force powers. So I didn't like seeing him flipping around. Silly.
Well, I think the best way you want to carry on watching Yoda do his famous flip-flops and everywhere else, I recommend Star Wars: The Clone Wars. It's available on Disney Plus.
Thank you, Ryan, for that recommendation. So another of Ryan's Disney Plus recommendations is The Clone Wars. I think we mentioned Star Wars is on Disney Plus, obviously, but you can watch all of The Clone Wars, can you?
Yeah, like every Star Wars live action movies, animated shows, shorts, and making of it, all available on Disney Plus.
Yeah, you mentioned Disney Gallery, which we had a look at regarding The Mandalorian. So you can watch the behind the scenes for everything to do with Star Wars, can you?
Only related to The Mandalorian, and everything else, not so much.
They will upload more things.
Oh yeah, definitely, yeah.
Cool, so keep watching. If you've got a Disney Plus account, watch that space.
Indeed.
Cool. So, Ryan, you've got Revenge of the Sith to come, the last film in the prequel series, and you've not watched it before.
Not yet. Like I said, I'm going through the Star Wars saga in order.
Very admirable, Ryan. It's a tall order. Are you looking forward to it? Are you excited about how it concludes?
Yeah, but I probably will know. Now I just watched the latest ones. When it's all going to go.
The writing's on the wall, but it's all about how it's executed, which is a point you make when you talk about films. The execution is key. So good luck to you, Ryan. I hope you enjoy the execution of how Anakin Skywalker actually becomes Darth Vader, because no plot spoiling. That's what happens in Revenge of the Sith. He actually becomes Darth Vader.
The thing I'm going to talk about today, instead of the gentleman for a change, is you remember Dark Side of the Ring? It came back for a second season.
So what is Dark Side of the Ring, Ryan?
Right. It's a professional wrestling documentary having looked at the darker stories in the professional wrestling business for the last 4 years.
Okay, so this is the behind the scenes of the wrestlers themselves.
Yeah, the tragedies that happen.
Yeah, in fact, a lot of wrestlers have had tragic stories. I think you and I were talking about Mr. Perfect a few years ago, who sadly died of a drugs overdose. If you've never heard of the self-destruction of the Ultimate Warrior.
Oh yeah, I got that on DVD actually.
Oh, fantastic. That might be on YouTube to watch. It talks about the Ultimate Warrior, Jim Hellwig, who actually changed his name to The Warrior in order to try and retain the rights to some of the merchandise, which is lunacy. And Vince McMahon, I called him Ed McMahon in a previous interview. Vince McMahon talks in the documentary about...
That'll be something.
Ed McMahon is the...
Ed McMahon.
The Ultimate Warrior refused to go in the ring if he didn't get like $1 million on the spot or a triple pay rise. And Vince McMahon says, I agreed to this. And then I couldn't wait to fire him as soon as he got out of the ring. And you just think, good for you, man. So that's a documentary that talks about the behind the scenes, what it's like for wrestlers to work together.
Right. It's called Voice TV, Dark Side of the Ring, Season 2. Well, mostly I watched each of the new episodes on YouTube.
Okay, so that's just available on YouTube. That's good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, you can probably watch these episodes on the Vice TV website or watch them on YouTube. Real stories that you probably could not believe they are talking about this. Like this year, they had about 10 instead of 6, which they focus on, which is, if you can recognise any of these, just let me know. Chris Benoit, the double murder suicide,
Well, I've not heard of that, no.
which is stripped to 2 parts
Mm-hmm.
because it's too big of a story. New Jack, which is from ECW, WWF Brawl for All, which is basically wrestling trying to hand in boxing, which is ended up terribly. Jimmy Snooker Snooker, Dino Warbo, David Hay.
These episodes you're referring to, Ryan?
David Schultz. That's it, David Schultz. Thank you. Back, Mum.
Mm-hmm. And each episode focuses on one person, does it?
Yes.
Okay.
The Road Warriors. And
I recognize them. Yeah, Road Warriors, yeah.
And the tragic accident of Owen Hart.
Owen Hart, yeah, and you've talked to me about Owen Hart at Level Best Art Cafe, and I've forgotten what befell Mr. Hart, but I was a big fan of brother, as Bret the Hitman.
Bret Hart. Bret the
Hitman. So
Hart.
Bret and Owen, they were two different wrestlers, weren't they? Yeah. I'm thinking back about 25 years now, so my memory's not going to be great. And the Road Warriors, they go back to then as well. They had the spiky red shoulder pads and the fake, lightning makeup.
Yeah.
What happened to them?
Oh, I think Animal, as in his real name, Joe, he's still alive. And Hulk, I think he died in 2003. Heart failure.
Okay, yeah. Ryan, have you seen The Wrestler with Mickey Rourke, the movie?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, I haven't, but I understand it's about a wrestler who has the plot is that he's got health problems and he's advised to stop wrestling, but he can't give up the life.
Yeah, which is like a mirror image of what's probably with older wrestlers today, which are like leave the win behind them.
It's too much of an adrenaline rush for them thing. Is Hulk Hogan still wrestling?
Not really. I think he just makes appearances, just saying, I'm Hulk Hogan. Here's my news, but I'm completely just knackered out.
Yeah, I remember with Hulk Hogan how many T-shirts he goes through a week because he just tears them off. Stop wasting your clothes, man.
Well, probably that's just his character back in those days.
Like, just stop wearing the T-shirt.
Well, not really. I think people around him probably like, yeah, I'm too old for this. I can't do this no more. I just go up doing my speech, showing my muscles, the poses, and that's it. He's gone.
He's been doing it for a long time. A lot of these guys. You have, is it Ted DiBiase, the $1 Million Man?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's like a preacher. There's a point made that a lot of these wrestlers, when they retire, they become preachers because they're used to the audience feedback.
With Ted DiBiase, he decided, I'm going to join a church. And now, like, starts a healthcare club with his son.
These are available, Ryan, these episodes you've listed on YouTube. Is there a YouTube channel, or do you just type Dark Side of Wrestling into the YouTube search bar? How would we find these videos?
Right, okay. Other than the Viceland website, YouTube, you just put Dark Side of the Ring, whatever you do it with a capital D or just a normal D, you type that, you press search, and probably you get a couple of clips from it, or just complete full, as in Full, 4 episodes of it, probably from different tags.
I imagine Vice TV has a YouTube channel, so that might be a good safe bet. If you see a video that's been uploaded by Vice TV and it's a full episode, then yeah, wonderful.
Or some of them are on probably other channels.
In the YouTube search bar, Ryan's just made it clear that you might find hosted by different channels, you might find short clips, but also full episodes are out there, so keep looking for it.
And I will say that some of these, well, actually no, this season, all of them are emotional, heartfelt, or worth to watch. Right?
I'm just looking at your review of this, Ryan. Yeah, this is the post that Ryan has done about Vice TV's Dark Side of the Ring Season 2. Ryan has written that plot, venturing deeper into wrestling's shrouded past, this season tackles the biggest stories from the last 40 years, with unprecedented access to a new cast of insiders who reveal the brutal and often tragic consequences of a life lived in the squared circle. The subjects for this season are Owen Hart, Chris Benoit, New Jack, David Schultz, Jimmy Snooker, the Road Warriors, Dino Bravo, Herb Abrams, The Brawl for All. Episode 1 and 2, Chris Benoit, Double Murder and Suicide. So I'm reading it from Ryan's RDB Reviews WordPress.com page. And so Ryan lists all the episodes and who they are featuring. And that's wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan.
Some of them are, if you read my some of them will be emotional, heartfelt, joyful, and well watched.
That's right. It's a mix between emotional, hilarious, heart-boiling, things that left us thinking what you might do differently. And after watching all 10 episodes of this series, I hope the show does get nominated for an Emmy Award. So it's that watchable, is it?
Yeah.
Good.
Definitely is. At some moments, which you like, oh my God, I can't believe. Maybe heartbreak.
So it's a bit like Where Are They Now? It's sort of telling us what happened to them after they were famous. Is that fair?
Yeah, pretty much that fair.
Okay, because I want to know what happened to the Road Warriors. I was a big fan of them as a kid, so it'd be interesting to see their story. Can I read your cons, Ryan?
Be okay.
All right, Ryan says, in the negative, a lot of what you will see can be hard to watch. Certain moments will leave people scratching their heads at times, and I wish different people were involved in certain episodes so they could have told their thoughts on the subject. So for certain wrestlers being discussed, you would have liked more primary sources like friends and family, or...
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. Like, sample, the last episode, which they focus on Owen Hart.
Mm-hmm.
And we all know what happened there. I'm not going to go too much.
I don't, but if the episode explains it, then that's fine. We won't talk about it now.
I was thinking, why could they just give their, view on this matter? Like the Hart family.
Yeah.
Yes, they hear their point of view.
Okay. So maybe it's not a very balanced documentary as far as who gets to say what.
Yeah. And also, example in the first, if there were 2 Hart episodes, get views from current wrestlers who their in-ring styles or influenced by Chris Benoit, Eddie Guerrero, those ones, who sadly no longer with us.
Yeah. But mostly a good watch. I mean, you've said in your cons, the first thing you said is it can be an emotional, hard watch. Well, that's potentially a good thing if you want some good drama, if you're interested in drama. Real life, and you want to know what it's like for these people, then that could be a positive. You're just saying be careful because it can be quite dark. I mean, it's called The Dark Side of the Ring, so...
Yeah, and I will say it's shot really, really well.
Good.
It feels like it's grounded in realistic.
Excellent. So it's got wrestling fans in mind. It will impress wrestling fans.
Yeah, and you'll probably all be surprised that you get to hear from these people of these events that happen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you, Ryan.
Which I can name them all, but I'll just let you watch those episodes for yourself.
Exactly. So there's many episodes out there. In fact, you're reviewing season 2, is it? Yeah. So there's a whole first season out there to watch as well that we haven't discussed. But yeah, go out there. Ryan recommends all of it, I'm assuming.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool.
Probably be watching this one.
Justice League Dark Apocalypse War. Okay.
Which is later DC anime feature. And it's can be like the conclusion of this 50 DC anime feature story from the new 52. Continuity.
What's the new 52, Ryan? I don't understand.
Oh, it's like their new comic line.
Okay, so what say, Ryan? We get into the DC animated movie Justice League Dark Apocalypse War. We'll be talking with Ryan next week.
Okay.
Thank you, Ryan, and we'll see you again.
Bye.